Welcome to Global Vision. I am super excited because we have here with us Enore Ceola, who is the CEO in the United States of Freixenet, and I cannot be happier to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Bisila. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, the first question is, what's your relationship with wine? And if you can tell us a little bit about background, how this marriage between you and wine happened?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but first I was born in the wine country, right? In Italy. When I was very young, I grew up within vineyards. My father owned a very small family-owned winery. So when I was 3-5 years old, I used to remember helping them during the harvest, especially. And then, in Italy, you grew up drinking wines when you're young, when you have family meals, and then I went in a different direction. I went in study to become a civil engineer, so in construction, especially development of highways. But then, when I decided to get married with my wife, she's American, to move to United States, there was a perfect timing where I could reconnect back with my first love, which was wine, and then the opportunity with Mionetto Prosecco.
Yes, tell us, because you are known to really put Prosecco in the map, and Mionetto, through Mionetto, you put Prosecco in the map. How this happened? Because in the United States, it was not so popular, the Prosecco, but you make it popular. So how this happened?
Well, so when I joined Mionetto, I joined specifically for this project in the United States. This was 1997. And it was very exciting because, I came to the United States a few times and I see people drinking wine and generally speaking, and sparkling wine. But I really started to learn about the business here when I moved here. And at the beginning, most of the Prosecco was sold here as a cheap alternative to champagne. And in fact, my first client call, New York City, I remember seeing some of the Prosecco on the bottle shelf full of dust, and I wasn't selling. And so the beginning was, in a way, easy, right? Because New York just started to change the laws. You could do tasting in the stores, and we did tasting in the store every single weekend, every single Friday, Thursday, every time we could. And not only in the store, but even, any gallery opening in Soho. I remember, working during the day on the street and during the evening at the gallery openings to make sure that people tasted the beauty of Prosecco. And when you taste Prosecco, it's almost impossible not to like it. So it was an easy job in that respect because people didn't know what it was, but they knew they liked it. And it was just a matter of telling them the story about the family, the Prosecco grape, where it comes from, plus, Italy back then. And of course, today, really start to be a love place for every American to go for vacation. So for them, it was just, drinking a glass of Prosecco and thinking they are in Italy. And the Italian food started to really get very popular, more sophisticated. So it was a combination of a lot of good things happening for Italy overall, but then, of course, Prosecco.
And how was your encounter with Mionetto? How this happened and how you met them?
Well, it was nice because growing up in the country, in wine region, and of course, Italy, there's a lot of restaurants. I grew up knowing that Mionetto was basically the best-selling Prosecco in our region. And so for us, my family, and then my friends, when we go out, we always drink Mionetto. Then when finally I decided to move here in the United States, because my wife, she's American, we thought a better future for both of us would be here. I started to look for an opportunity of working here in the States. And, and of the list that I come up with, it said, I don't think I want to be another job in construction in the United States or other things like that. I want to do something that's different. And then finally, I got in touch with the family Mionetto, and it was a 6 months process of dating with the family, because it's a big leap of faith for them as well, was that sending someone from Italy that didn't know so much America and nor the business in the United States. So it was great. I interviewed with the family a few times, and then finally we found an agreement that was great for both of us. I trained in Italy, and then I moved here, within a few months.
Wow. What year was that?
That was in September 1997. So I got married in August, and then I moved 2 weeks later in the United States and started the adventure. So it was really cool. Very good time.
And you mentioned that when you came to New York, the wine laws were starting to change. Can you tell us a little bit about the background of that change, and when was that?
That was, so I was here, my first trip here to set up the business was in July 1997, and the laws just passed a few months earlier. So, I'm in the office doing all paperwork, business plan, and then I said to myself, I'm looking at the numbers so much here, but what if this doesn't work, So I said to let me go out and sell. And so I took the bag and I went out for 2 days selling, and every place I stopped, I basically made a sell. My first stop was a sell.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a liquor store on 3rd Avenue. They loved it. They ordered, and they say, if you come Friday for the tasting, it will be great. And I was there on a Friday, and and you taste the product with the people, then you get excited. So it was very good. It was early on, perfect timing, and a few months later, the New York Times wrote an article about the new wave of tasting in the stores in New York City. And we were part of it because we were doing tasting all over the place. And it was such a new thing that not everyone, was embracing it yet.
Wow. It's fascinating that you were able to go through that transition, and also how the consumptions of wine also was changing and the way to drink it, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is, sometimes, it's good not to know so much about things, because I didn't know that you couldn't taste, in Italy, you can taste on the street, right? So I didn't know very well. And the store owner told me, Mr. Lee, told me, no, you can do it. With the law just changed. So I was extremely excited about it. Wow.
And tell us, how long has been the relationship between Mionetto and Freixenet, and how this relationship started?
So we have to go back a little bit. The first thing was, so Mionetto family sold the winery to our Enkel group back in 2008. And so Enkel became the owner of Mionetto Winery and the US here branch, distribution branch of United States for the Mionetto brand. And then in 2018, so about 10 years later, Freixenet family and the Enkel family, they joined their businesses. And so in United States, Freixenet had already a company as well. And so we joined the two companies. We joined Mionetto USA, Freixenet USA, and became Freixenet Mionetto USA. So a year before we were competitor and I want to say hate each other, but definitely try to take a business away from each other. And then now I see things differently. I see that there is a consumer for cava, there is a consumer for Prosecco. And I drink cava some days, Prosecco other days. So there is room for everyone,
That's a beautiful story, right? About how collaboration could change completely the perspective.
It's true, and that's especially true when you start to get to know people, because then you see the passion of their brand, their wines in a different way, and then you start to appreciate that. And so I think it's very important to keep your mind open, because it's like many other wine. There's so much wines in the wine industry, and the people have different tastes. So, and there are different occasions. So there is opportunity for everyone to coexist.
And tell us about the cava market in the United States. Is cava popular? And if you could share with us some numbers.
So, cava was before Prosecco, the best-selling, excuse me, sparkling wine was champagne and cava, right? Then Prosecco start in the 2005 to start to get very popular, and now Prosecco is bigger than cava. But what happened in the last 5 years, because there are more people now drinking sparkling wine, cava now is coming back. And the thing is, cava, it's actually a very high quality sparkling wine because it's made with the same method of champagne. There is a vintage dated cava, and it takes 2 years to make, or even sometimes more, to make a very good cava. So because all of this, you get more consumer are open to drink sparkling wine at any occasion. And so cava, it's coming back much stronger than it ever been. Right now, the size of the market here in the United States, about 24 million, 28 million bottles per year, which is a good size. US is one of the top 3 markets for cava as a whole category, and is one of the top markets for us for Freixenet. Wow. So very, very good. We're very excited about it. And Freixenet is an iconic brand. And everyone I talk to, they always tell me, "Oh, Freixenet, the black bottle." And so they remember, they know, and they have some memories connected to the brand. So it's really nice to see that.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about what is known about Freixenet and Segura Viudas here? And what was the story with the US market?
Well, talking about pioneer, Freixenet was a real pioneer because they were here right after Prohibition. They opened their own office in New Jersey back in the 1940s. They sent, back then, the Freixenet family or Ferrer family, they sent their son here in the United States to run the business. And so there's a long history, a long connection, a long tradition of Freixenet in the United States. The Ferrer family, it's really, really attached to this market. Pedro Ferrer, the son of Jose Ferrer, spent 10 years here in the United States. One of his kids was born in the United States, and one of his kids actually live in LA. So it's a very, very strong connection with the United States. And then in mid-80s, the Ferrer family purchased another cava producer, was Segura Viudas. Segura Viudas was already in the United States, so they combined the two companies, and they kept growing. And at the top of the category development was the millennium, 2000. Freixenet was a million case brand in the United States, and the number 2 was Segura Viudas. So amazing story about the family and how they established the brands here in the United States.
Oh, that's wonderful. And tell us about what happened during the COVID times in the wine industry. Did you fear, you had any kind of impact?
Well, we were very afraid, as everybody, right? Because we didn't know what would have happened in the next month or the next 6 months. But I keep talking internally with our team and says, you never know. Because my past experience, not that you can have an experience like this, of course, but when there is a crisis or there is a time of concern, at the end, people find something that makes them feel good about it. And what I've seen is that Prosecco and sparkling wine usually actually perform better during this time because they are relatively inexpensive. And, you can have a glass of Prosecco or a glass of cava and feel you treat yourself for something special, right? Without breaking the bank. And in fact, 90 days later or 60 days later, we start to see, an incredible increase on the business with retailer and grocery stores. And so overall, during COVID, sparkling wine, Prosecco, and cava performed quite well. Very, very fortunate to see that, and very fortunate to have brands like Mionetto and Freixenet that have been in the market for a long time. So people recognize those brands and they stick to those brands. Yeah.
And recently in Freixenet, you have launched a very disruptive product, which is the alcohol removed sparkling white wine. How is this performing in the market? How is the reception?
So very interesting. Everyone is very interested. The distributors are very excited. and we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
know-how about non-alcoholic sparkling wine. We've been producing it in Spain and in France for the last 15 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so we know how to make a very good non-alcoholic or alcohol removed sparkling wine, and it tastes really, really good. So we launched it for January, of course, no dry January, but as we see already, there is a residual business in the months that people, maybe they don't think about that. And I see there is a growing trend. Maybe it's not going to be a big category, but I think it's a growing trend for people at home consumption, but even on premise, because cocktail with sparkling wines now are hot, and mocktail are hot. And
Oh,
right, I tell you, a non-alcoholic cava cocktail is just refreshing, beautiful. I mean, it's 5 p.m. you can drink 2 or 3 glasses, and it's just makes you very happy without having to think about that. You may have alcohol in your body, so you can drive, or you have to worry about not drinking anymore. So it's really good.
did you see any difference between the consumer that is looking for wines and the consumer who is looking for Prosecco and cava?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of a difference. Maybe the wine consumer sometimes is more sophisticated, or I will say knows more about wine, generally speaking. But overall, I think it's not so much about the consumer; it's about the moment, the occasion. Then, so you can see that there are some somms that they drink very expensive or very esoteric wines, but then they have, with their friends and their family, they have a glass of cava or prosecco. So there is a little bit of difference in consumer, but it's more about the consumption opportunity. Sparkling wine like prosecco and cava, it's enjoyment for yourself, with your friends, with your family. So you don't have a specific reason to open a bottle of prosecco or cava.
Anytime is
about,
good.
Exactly. Bubbly is always great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to conclude, what is the plans that you have with Freixenet and Mionetto moving forward? And how do you see the sparkling wine market moving along?
Well, I think the sparkling wine market, it's in a good place here in the United States. The per capita consumption in US is not as much as it is in Europe. So I think there's room to grow for Prosecco, for Cava, for other sparkling wines. So we feel very positive about it. So our goal is to keep developing the brands and making sure that we speak to consumer and we train the consumer to understand what Cava is, Prosecco is, but especially what Freixenet is and what Mionetto stands for in terms of quality, heritage, and style, because that's what defines our brands different than others.
Definitely. Well, I think that in America, we love a good story, and both families have beautiful stories. So I think that's also another way that people connect also with the stories of these brands. And I think you make a beautiful work really to bring these stories into the market, to allow people to understand what is the lifestyle that is in Europe. And I feel that people embrace it.
Thank you. Definitely, there is a lot of heritage in both brand, and our mission really is to tell the story, because there's family, people behind it. Sometimes, of course, you don't see that, just by looking at the bottle. So that's our job.
Very good. Enore, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm sure the audience is going to enjoy as much as I did this babbling interview.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. And it was great to see you.
Good to see you too. Ciao, ciao.
Good. Ciao, ciao. Bye. Thank you.